a lesson. You may have heard these words before, but I'll teach you what they really mean. Go beyond! Plus!
So, we have finally reached it, my friends. Today is the finale, the epic conclusion to Transformers Autocracy. This is going to be a long one, but before we get started, you know I have to say this. Hey, what's up everyone? James here. If you are new or behind on this story, check out my Transformers Phase 1 playlist. I should have the card pop up right here, and it will be in the description box down below. Now, with all of that out of the way, let's dive into these final chapters, starting with Chapter 10, Rise. So the chapter begins within the Citadel, now controlled by the Decepticons. We focus on Hot Rod here being escorted to see Megatron. I should have mentioned this in the last video, but Hot Rod has joined the Decepticons. And this isn't one of those situations where he's on a secret infiltration mission. Hot Rod took Starscream's offer from the last chapter and chose a side. And the reason he did this is because he really feels lost. Hot Rod doesn't know what he's fighting for anymore. Through his inner monologue, we learned this, and we also learned that he never wanted to choose a side, that he wishes he could go back to simpler times and just fight for the people of Nyan. But we know that isn't possible anymore. Nyan is gone. He was forced to destroy it in order to prevent Zeta from gaining more power. We also learn he views his decision to join the Decepticons as a mistake because he sees they won't bring the long-lasting peace that Cybertron needs. He meets with Megatron and they have this great conversation. Megatron praises and compliments Hot Rod on sacrificing Nyan in the fight against Zeta and tells him that Zeta would have become unstoppable if he hadn't done that, and that a true leader acts without doubt or regret, that the leaders who carry those qualities are weak. Hot Rod replies, "Funny, Orion told me the same thing." Now, Megatron's response to this is interesting. He reveals that he saw Orion as a fool blinded by idealism, and that the only worthy opponent was Zeta because he was ruthless. I think this conversation is incredible because it parallels well with Hot Rod's conversation with Orion back in Chapter 7. It shows us that both Megatron and Optimus believe in the same thing, that a leader needs to have the strength to make hard choices. However, where they differ is Megatron feels caring doubt and regret that may come from that hard choice makes you weak. At the same time, Optimus considers it the price you pay as a leader. And going on a quick tangent here, to be honest, I'm more aligned with Megatron's way of thinking, because self-doubt will affect your ability to be decisive in the future. And guilt, though sometimes it is justified to carry, for a time, it can also be a slippery slope. Holding it long enough can lead to depression or a guilt complex, and that cannot be the case when you're in a position where people's lives are in your hands. Those are my thoughts, but let me know what you guys think in the comments down below. Now, back to the story. We quickly go to Optimus Prime near the outskirts of Iacon, and he's confused by the Matrix because it's pulling him towards Nyan, and he can't imagine anyone survived Zeta's purge, but he intends to find out. Meanwhile, we see Starscream bringing Bumblebee to Megatron after torturing him. He informs Megatron that Bumblebee knows nothing. However, Megatron reveals that torturing Bumblebee wasn't about gaining information, but about breaking him into submission. But when he realizes that Bumblebee can't be easily broken, he orders Starscream to have him and the rest of the Autobots executed. Later we go to the detention cells, where we see Thundercracker and Dirge taunting the Autobots before their execution. Hot Rod approaches, informing Thundercracker that Megatron wants the Autobots to remain alive now. But the ploy doesn't work. Thundercracker calls him a lying sack of bolts, and Hot Rod then shoots the prison cell console, freeing the Autobots. Now, some of you may remember, Ironhide and Thundercracker have beef. They were about to fight in an earlier chapter. Ironhide breaks free out of his cuffs and smashes Thundercracker's head against the wall while saying, "Told ya this wasn't over." When I read this, I was like, that's what you get, son. Talk, get hit. Now, Hot Rod's reason for saving them when asked by Bumblebee is he saw for himself that Megatron is worse than Zeta, since he just wants everyone beneath his heel. I would argue though that at least Megatron's cruelty comes from years of discrimination, his people being treated as a lower class, and witnessing his people being massacred and unfairly imprisoned. I would say that's a lot more understandable than Zeta Prime, who was just ruthless because he wanted to keep his power. Hot Rod tells Bumblebee he doesn't want his people to have died for nothing, that they would have fought for freedom if they could have, and he finally sees that's what Orion and his team have been fighting for all along, and asks to join them. So Hot Rod officially becomes an Autobot. Now with Orion gone, Bumblebee mentions that makes Ultra Magnus the ranking officer, but Magnus isn't willing to give up on Orion just yet. Bumblebee is of the same mind and hacks a nearby security console in order for him to track Orion's ID code. Once he follows it to Nyan, the Autobots immediately roll out. As they escape the Citadel, they're stopped by the Decepticon battle chargers Runamuck and Runabout. But they're not stopped for long when out of nowhere an explosion occurs, and we see the Pre-Wreckers, Cup, Springer, Prowl, and Hound come to save their fellow Autobots. Now they're not the Wreckers yet, but I just wanted to call them that. And really only Cup and Springer eventually become members of the Wreckers. I'm pretty sure Prowl and Hound have never been members, but I could be wrong about that. Let me know in the comments down below. From there, we go to Optimus, reaching Nyan. Through the Matrix, he can feel faint pulses of life deep beneath Nyan. Optimus says, where there's life, there is always hope. He continues his journey through Nyan until he reaches the Acropolis. He can feel the sparks of the people of Nyan that were snuffed out, devoured by fear and violence, the very same things that have taken control of the people of Cybertron. Optimus soon realizes the power he feels pulsing beneath Nyan is an ancient and noble power waking. The senseless loss deeply grieves this ancient power. The Matrix calls out to it, and it stirs. Suddenly, Optimus is approached by his team, having tracked him to Nyan. Bumblebee says, "You're supposed to be dead." But Optimus replies, "I was dead inside, but no longer. I'm back and know what I need to do." Bumblebee points out that Optimus sounds different, and Ironhide asks if they will take the fight to Megatron now. Optimus answers that they first need to get their bearings, and he proceeds to give them an awesome speech. He says, "Autobots, brothers, long ago we took oaths as officers to protect the people, but as times grew grim, we let the rule of law crush them. We lost our way. With the Decepticons in power, our people need us now more than ever. We need to bring them justice and freedom." When Bumblebee and Hot Rod mention they're outgunned, outnumbered, and don't have the power to fight, but Optimus replies, opening his chest, saying, "We do, right here." Optimus reveals the Matrix of leadership. The Autobots are shocked, but Bumblebee points out that only a Prime can hold the Matrix. Optimus says, "I'm a Prime now, Optimus Prime, and I've been given a second chance to set things right and fight for a better world. Will you stand with me?" Bumblebee is the first to answer, saying, "I'm with you, Optimus, till all are one." Now, whatever you are doing right now, stop and listen closely. Optimus says to the Autobots, "Before we roll out, there is someone I want you to meet. Someone who suffered through the ages of fire and death and dreamed through long eons of history. He shall not rise as the Acropolis, a forgotten ruin of a lost age, but as an embodiment of our shining future, a symbol of a better world we will forge together. Arise, Metroplex." Dude, when I read this, I was like, oh my god, I can't believe it. I was just like going off the wall seeing this. But I really love this because for those of you who've been following the Phase 1 playlist, back when we covered Spotlight Orion Pax, he thought Metroplex left the planet eons ago and even doubted he was real. Alpha Trion revealed to him that Metroplex was very real. And Metroplex right now is one of the major plot points of Shattered Glass. And Shattered Glass 2 is coming soon, so I hope we get to see him in all his glory in that series as well. Well, that's the end of Chapter 10, Rise. From there, we immediately go to Chapter 11, Broadcast, and it opens where we last left off in the ruins of Nyan. Metroplex greets Optimus, saying, "It's good to see you again, old friend." And this confuses Optimus because from his point of view, this is their first meeting. But like the voice who spoke to him across time when he discovered the Matrix, the voice that sounded familiar to him, Metroplex mentions that he has always known him, maybe under a different name and time, but explains that history repeats itself with clockwork precision, and that there's always someone like him ready to battle against the chaos. Optimus asks Metroplex for his help in the desperate fight against Megatron, and Metroplex agrees to help, but first would like to help the survivors of Nyan. Optimus tells the Autobots they need to rally everyone, and he knows who exactly can help with that. Later, we go to Tor City Triax at the underground pirate station Nexus, where we see Blaster, and I'm so glad we're finally seeing him. At this point in time in the story, Blaster's not associated with Decepticons or Autobots. He's actually a former reporter for the Iconian newsfeed service, and he left that position because of his bad experiences with government-censored media. So in order for him to report the truth to the people of Cybertron, Cybertron, like corruption scandals and information the government hides, he set up his pirate radio station Nexus. Right now he's speaking out against the Decepticons, thinking they won't be able to stop him. However, unbeknownst to Blaster, his Decepticon counterpart, Soundwave, was able to locate his position. We see Breakdown and Wild Rider are here to assassinate him, and their assassination attempt doesn't really last long. Optimus takes them by surprise and knocks them out. Blaster thanks Optimus for the save and assumes he wants him to spin the standard Autobot propaganda as payment, but Optimus tells Blaster that he's always been a voice of the people and they need to hear the truth. Sometime later we go to Skylynx, and I have to say I'm disappointed with how little Skylynx has been utilized in this series so far, because he's one of my favorites and I think he's awesome. He drops off the Autobots along with Blaster at the Iconian newsfeed service headquarters. With Blaster's help, the Autobots hijack the newsfeed in order for Optimus to transmit a message all across Cybertron, where we'll see some familiar faces and other faces we have yet to meet. With the signal reaching everywhere, Optimus begins his speech. He says, "My fellow Cybertronians, you once knew me as Orion Pax, an officer of our corrupt Senate that grew increasingly oppressive, but that day is done, taking with it the broken shell of the bot I once was. I speak to you now as Optimus Prime, not elected by ancient ritual or committee. I do not serve any faceless bureaucracy. I serve you, the citizens of Cybertron, and as sure as the Matrix burns within my frame, I will never stop fighting for your freedom. The Decepticons rule from Iacon Citadel, thinking their numbers and guns can keep you in line. Don't believe the lie. The real power lies in you, lies in unity. The ancients believe that true freedom exists when all are one. I call upon you to prove it by joining me at Iacon. We will march upon the Citadel and show Megatron that the age of tyrants is over. We shall reclaim the Autobot name and restore its pride and honor as one." Later, after Optimus's message, Megatron is shocked to hear that Orion is alive, but believes his message won't change anything because the people fear him too much. However, Megatron is quickly proven wrong when he sees Optimus marching upon the Citadel with a massive army at his back, and this is awesome. Seeing this, Megatron says to Starscream, "I don't care if you have to kill every bot in this city. This ends now. Hold on to your seats, everyone, because this is when the battle begins." Bumblebee points out Starscream and his Seekers coming in for a strafing run. The Seekers drop bombs on top of the Autobots, and Optimus tells them to hold their ground. As the Seekers prepare to attack the Autobots again, they are surprised by someone we haven't seen in a while, Silverbolt, accompanied by a group of aerial bots, saying these Seekers are about to learn who rules the skies. Optimus then orders the Autobots to push forward to the Citadel. One of the bots mentions that the Citadel's guns will pulverize them and asks if they should fall back. Optimus replies, "We stand or fall as one." He raises the Autobot banner from the ground and says, "Either we win today or lose our world forever. I will not let the Decepticons have it." He yells at Megatron saying, "Do you hear me? It's over." Megatron replies, "It will take more than words to stop me, more than you imagine, Optimus Prime." And that's the end of Chapter 11 broadcast. Now, we have made it to the end of Autocracy, Chapter 12, Endgame. Let's not waste any more time and go right into it. The chapter opens with the battle between the Autobots and Decepticons still raging on. Megatron receives an update on the battlefront from Blitzwing, who tells him that the assault forces are advancing on the Autobot lines. Megatron changes plans, displaying his great strategic ability by ordering Blitzwing to hold his position and fire barrages behind the Autobots in order to keep them in the same position for this surprise he has for them, which will be revealed soon. Meanwhile, we go to the battlefront. As the Decepticons begin their barrages on the Autobots, pinning them in the same position, Bumblebee points this out to Optimus and says they need reinforcements. What follows next is one of the most badass entrances in this series. Oh my god, I'm so hyped. Alright, suddenly, the Dinobots arrive, with Grimlock leading the charge, saying, "Dinobots, this is our fight now." And it doesn't end there. With his burning Energon sword in hand, Grimlock slices through one of the Decepticon tanks, and the rest of the Dinobots take out the other tanks. Like, oh my god, this was amazing. I love the Dinobots. We then see some other bots who heard Optimus's message arrive, and you can see Blur in the background here. I like that. As another barrage comes in, Trailbreaker uses his shield to protect everyone. We then see the Citadel begins to change, revealing Megatron's surprise, the Vampark Annihilator. He says, "Behold the final legacy of Zeta Prime." This weapon looks super menacing. He fires the Annihilator into the center of the Autobots' forces, killing so many, causing the Autobots to flee for their lives. When it seems like the battle is lost, Metroplex joins the fight. Optimus reveals he called him before the battle and held him in reserve until Megatron made his big play. Metroplex, transforming out of his city form, says the Vampark weapons insult those who forge Cybertron and shall be silenced. As Metroplex draws all the Decepticon firepower towards him, Optimus orders the Autobots to charge forward for freedom for Cybertron. Now what happens next was kind of surprising to me. Megatron fires the Vampark Annihilator at Metroplex and it has zero effect on him. Like the Vampark's beam literally bounces off of him. Metroplex then grabs the Citadel and rips it apart. This sends Megatron falling, landing in the city streets. Standing there waiting for him with his ion blaster and burning energon axe ready for battle is Optimus Prime, saying, "You could have led our world to freedom and fulfilled the promise of your ideals. Instead, all you brought was death." Megatron replies, "No one can deny their true nature, not me or you." The fight between them begins with Optimus laying the smackdown on Megatron, saying, "One shall stand, one shall fall." Hot Rod sees the fight playing out, and despite Megatron's best efforts, loses the battle against Optimus. Unprepared for how strong Optimus has gotten, Optimus holds Megatron at gunpoint, showing mercy and asking him to surrender. Surprisingly, he still wants to work with Megatron, believing both of them together can heal the wounds of their divided people. Megatron plays like he's gonna surrender, but secretly grabs a nearby hidden blaster. Hot Rod sees this and tries to stop him, but ends up being his hostage. Megatron says, "Foolish move, boy." Hot Rod replies, "Only move I make," and changes into his alt form, escaping Megatron's grip. Optimus says, "You were warned," and fires his ion blaster at Megatron. Now the blast didn't kill Megatron, but it did heavily damage him. Megatron says, "You think you've won? You just started a war, the likes of which this world has never seen." Soundwave flies in aboard Astro Train and grabs Megatron, successfully escaping. At the same time, in Tryon Square, Shockwave orders the Decepticons to retreat, and you see the Seekers flee and get a great view of Metroplex towering over Iacon. He is just huge. Later, after the battle, we learn through Bumblebee's discussion with Hound and Slinger that Metroplex went back to his city mode over the ruins of the Citadel, becoming Iacon's new capital, that the survivors of Nion will become chroniclers, cataloging Cybertron's history. From there, we go to Ultra Magnus and Prowl, showing Optimus something that they've discovered. And what they discovered was a hidden storehouse of illegal weapons, outlaw designs, and prototypes stockpiled by Zeta Prime and the Senate. And Prowl suggests using the weapons to end the Decepticons once and for all, but Optimus refuses. He says these are tools of subjugation that led to Zeta's destruction. I won't make the same mistake. Destroy it all, every last piece. We go to a sort of epilogue here, seeing this discussion between Optimus and Hot Rod. Optimus thanks Hot Rod for saving him and for opening his eyes. However, Hot Rod believes he isn't a hero and doesn't deserve any thanks. And this is Hot Rod displaying that guilt complex that I talked about earlier. But in this case, it is justified. This is the guy who had to kill his own people. I love Optimus's response to this. He says, "You took a stand and followed your heart. If you're not a hero, then I don't know what is. Hold your head high, Autobot. After all, you could carry the Matrix one day." And I love that because he's making Rodimus see that despite everything he's done, he is still a hero and he is worthy enough to carry the Matrix of leadership. But with that being said, that is the end of Autocracy. God, this was amazing. This story was just absolutely incredible. And guess what? This isn't really the end. This story is actually a trilogy, and we've only covered the first part. Next in the trilogy, we will be covering Monstrosity. And this is where I need all of you to state your opinion on this. Monstrosity was initially put out as 12 chapters, but was eventually printed as a 4-issue miniseries. So I want you guys to let me know whether you want me to cover it as 12 chapters, just like I did for Autocracy, or just cover it as a 4-issue miniseries. I'll eventually post a poll and have you guys all vote on it. But in the meantime, let me know in the comments down below what you think. Other than that, this video has gone on long enough. Thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate every single one of you. Have a fantastic day. Take care. And always remember every day to go beyond. See you later, Beyonders.